Hello, Rob Briggs, Blackmore, Vale Honey, and welcome back to the channel. So we're here today at Quince Honey Farm. So this was just going to be a small part of my August edition of 1 year in beekeeping, but it's such a fascinating place, decided to make a whole video on it. So here we are, we're at Quince, and let's get on with it. So 24th of August, and a bit of an interesting day today. We are at Quince Honey Farm, which is in South Molton, sort of North Devon. In fact, it's right next to Exmoor. So we come along here for a couple of reasons. A, it's a beekeeping place. Why wouldn't you want to come and see it? And B, we're going to try and pick up some ideas for the new honeybee centre. Seeing as how it's an activity that's open to all ages, see if something we can take away from it that we can perhaps use as well. And plus, these places are always really good places to get ideas as to what's happening in the beekeeping world, etc. And also, Thorne's got a shop here. So let's go and have a look. So you've got planters and benches made out of bee boxes. That's a really cool idea. Interesting use of an old telephone box. This seems to be one of the exhibition areas. I can see through the building, see bees flying. Let's have a little look. Okay, so if we have a look around this building, they've got some other insects and creatures as well, which are great for the entomology, great for the children experiencing the other worlds apart from just bees. So we've got giant snails, giant orange woodlice, stick insects. That's quite cool. And over here, a bit of a history of beekeeping. So this, I suppose, imitates a cave back in the good old bad old days. And on the walls, you can see where they've got beehives and various. You can see that's kind of where the frames would have been, if you like, or the comb would have been in the trees. Some actual photographs of the history of it. That is really cool. Some information on solitary bees. They do a whole, I'll come along later to that, but they do a whole section on solitary bees. And then this is quite cool. If we go around here, this is really cool actually. They've got a section here where they've got wild comb, if you like. So what they've done at the top, they've got an actual beehive, an actual box, but then they've allowed the bees to go underneath it to grow. So you can see what it's like wild comb. There's another one there, but that's not got any bees in that one. But that shows you what it's like when we do these rescues and these cutouts, relocations. That's what the wild comb looks like. And it's interesting, isn't it, how it's almost in the shape of frames, which is why we come up with frames in the first place, movable frames. So that's really cool. And then round here, we've got how bees, well, that's how they'd be in the wild, potentially, in a tree trunk. But again, what they've done here, look, they've done it in a way that they can manage it, so they can still remove it and check for disease and that kind of stuff. But this particular one, it's interesting, you can see the frames, and then below it you can see the wild comb. So you see how the wild comb represents exactly, because all we do is give them a box and try and keep it as close to what they're used to. And then obviously there's the skep. And what they've done here as well, which is quite clever, they've kept they've got the skep for the bees, but then they've got the boxes below it. I wonder if there's frames in there. Might be. So it's easy to manage. And then they've got their outside area where they do their teaching. You see, you got the mic frame and everything else. But what I thought was really cool was this. So it's got the place where you can put your hands through into the gloves. And so as part of the demonstration, you can also handle a hive, handle a frame, etc. So that is really cool, especially for the kiddies, well, for anybody. So when I came in earlier, there was a lady in there talking about bee biology, telling about all the different parts of the bee. So if you look at this model, it's really, really clever what they've done. They've done it in such a way with teaching in mind. So one of the wings can come off. You can see all the all the parts of the bee, certainly the external parts, even to the even though it's made of metal, you can see the fur on the back leg there, where they carry the pollen. So that's really cool. Really, really great teaching aid. So I'm keeping one eye on the older programme events. A really busy programme events actually. I caught some of the bee biology. I've missed the honey factory tour, which I'll go to the 12:30 one. But then we'll come back here for 11 o'clock and have a look, see what they're saying about the solitary bees. But a really good programme of events, and I think just about right to keep the interest in people. So let's have a wander around till that's on. Now you can't see it from ground level, but if you was to look above, the whole of this Quince Honey farm is laid out in hexagons, and the gardens are also, you got this path that runs all the way around the outside, but it runs round in a hexagon, and then it's got hexagon paths that run through the middle, and it's all split up into various different displays and gardens, which is quite cool. And when I was talking about the gardens, this is the central area. So you've got central covered seating area, could be used for doing exhibitions, training as an outside area, and it's a central part of the honey farm. It all kind of expands out from here. Okay, looks like I'm a bit early. I've come along for the solitary bees. This is something I'm getting interested in. You've seen I've got my mason bees, but there's so many solitary bees, so we'll have a listen to this. We're a bit early, so we get some filming done. This is quite cool though, on the TV, showing you how the honey farm took shape. That's quite cool. So this is their exhibition area. So that's where people can come along and put their own exhibitions up, be it art, photography, or whatever. It's called the Hex Exhibition. Okay, and then outside they've got, here we go, look. Right, so this, I don't know if you can see that from there, because the way the light is, that is why we can't, it's really difficult to get bees out of chimneys unless you know what you're doing. Just look at what that looks like in there. And so not only would you need your scaffolding and all your equipment, but you've actually got to start taking the sides of chimneys down to get into them potentially, or you might have to. So yeah, you can see how difficult that could be. Again, they've got a hive going on this. You can actually see the front of the hive on this one, see them coming and going. That's cool. And then they've got this on the wall. Now I like that. That'd be really cool, and it doesn't have to be quite that big either. That's really cool, like that. And what I've noticed everywhere, all around the place, they've got framed pictures and pictures really tastefully done of anything bee related. So I guess this is where they turn up to go on the demo, so you can actually go outside with the bees, get changed and whatever in again. More outside hives.
Different bee species. One of them is the honeybee. It's the only bee species that makes honey in the UK is our honeybee. 29 are bumblebee species, and then the other 250 are our solitary bees. So we have lots of different. The thing is called the Vale bee is because he has very hairy feet. He has attracted a female to his little patch of flowers, and our female, she's happy. She's like, oh yeah, these flowers are great, I'll stay here. She flies down, or he flies up to her, and then he starts his little mating ritual. They're not competing for habitat. Depending on what flowers are available, they're probably not even competing for food.
Well, in Kent, there's a lot of
Yeah.
So here we are then, we're in the factory. It's a factory tour, it's where they do their, process their honey. Now, I was talking to the lady, they've got 1,500 hives all over the countryside, and they rotate their hives through. But here, actually on site, is where they do all their extracting. So this part of the factory that we're in is where they make the candles, they do the jarring, and then through the doors is where they actually do the extracting. So we're going to have a look at that in a moment. But yeah, everywhere, each individual area that we come across is set up in such a way that it's really, really public and user-friendly. So yeah, let's go and have a look at the rest of the factory. So when you first arrive at Quince, they give you a timetable for the day of all the things that are going on for the day. And the timetable does repeat itself 3 times over the day, so there is an opportunity to see everything. So you've got bee biology, the honey tour, the tour of the factory, all about solitary bees, a walk through the gardens, guided tour through the gardens, and beekeeping demo. So and it's all set up in different areas, and one of the demos they do is beeswax, and a talk on candle rolling. So tell you about beeswax, and you can do some candle rolling, you know, the sort of stuff that we do at our shows, etc. So that's really cool. But what I like as well is every area, even if you don't turn up there as part of the tour, although you should, because they're very knowledgeable, go as part of the tour, there's all the stuff on the TV screens and around the rooms, and you get a good idea of everything that's going on that you don't have to actually do it as part of the tour. So, and because the tour repeats itself kind of 3 times through the day, you can take breaks, you can go to the restaurant, etc., and come back and see it later on. So it's really, really cool. So let's go and have a look at the other part of this factory. Okay, so you see what I mean on the walls behind me and in front of me. Everywhere you look has got information of what actually goes on with bees and hive-related products, etc., and tells you everything that's happening, even if you're not part of the tour. In this part, you can't really see at the moment because they've turned all the lights off on the inside. So I'll come back when I do the tour again later and I'll show you. But this is, behind here, is where they demonstrate all the extracting and the way they extract all the honey from Quince. But you can see here, look, you can see on the glass there, bless them, they've brought some visitors with them, which is why they ask for all the doors to remain closed. But you can smell the honey, and you can smell the wax in there. And I guess this is a hit with the public. You get a chance to taste all their honeys. So this whole building here is a play area for the children. It's the play hive. So it's a soft play type area where they've got ball pits and you know, the padded areas where children run off and let off steam, etc. So really good for the kids. Obviously, because there's children playing in there, we won't be doing filming. But trust me, it is a good place for the children to run off and let off a bit of energy, let off a bit of steam. So again, all the different areas of the little gardens, it's very cleverly done actually. So this area is called the maze. It's not really much of a maze. You can let your kids run around in there. They ain't going to get lost. It just goes around the outside and a little bit in the middle. But again, it's all education and bee related and education related. So yeah, like that. So again, more areas of the garden. We've sort of come around the outside a little bit. So you've still got that central area in the middle there. And yeah, more formal, more planted gardens. So again, another one of the team is doing a safari at the moment, going around giving people guided tour of the gardens. Now, can you see that building behind over there? That's going to be a new structure, and that's going to be their new exhibition centre. So they're going to have all sorts going on there, including a museum. So that'll be pretty cool. Worth coming back again, I think. And they've got a greenhouse as well. Okay. So again, quite clever. They've got their greenhouse for the more exotic plants. But you can just see, look, it's all bumbles, but it's just alive with the insects and the pollinators. There's the manuka. Now, as a very good friend of mine told me, that when it comes to manuka honey, the Kiwis, they've sold you the sizzle and not the sausage. Trust me, your local honey in this country, in the UK, is probably as good as the manuka honey. And I don't know if you can see this. So at Quince, they're not just interested in the honeybee. They're also interested in all the solitary bees and all the other pollinators. And they've attracted them all here. And there's one on the floor just here. She'll probably take off in a minute. There she goes. Dragonflies. There's loads of dragonflies about as well. And also they've got all these areas and different ideas on how you can attract your solitary bees. Now, you know, from my previous videos, we've been doing some work with the mason bees, and we are interested in solitary bees. But here they've taken it to a whole new other level. And these clay ones have been designed especially to attract the hairy-footed flower bees, which are, I think, quite rare, but they prefer they prefer the clay. So they've built these specially. They did it last year, and guess what? They've attracted them. So it comes from that film, doesn't it? If you build it, they will come, and they have. So I had an interesting chat with one of their experts here. It was the person that's talking about the solitary bees. And you've been reading a lot of articles where people write that, you know, we're given too much over to the honeybee. We're looking after the honeybee too much, and that's affecting the other bee and insect species. Well, apparently it's not, because, and we've seen it ourselves, and we go to the sunflowers, mainly full of bumblebees. So the area doesn't really matter too much. They don't kind of compete. So the solitary bees are quite short-lived and don't live in hives, so don't live for the length of time. And the forage in the main is different, although there is a lot that they all share, is different. So they're not really competing with each other. So by looking after the honeybee and making people aware of the honeybee and planting bee-friendly flowers for the honeybee, we're actually helping all the honeybee species. So they all kind of go together hand in hand. So yeah, don't think that you're just helping one species of bee when actually anything you do in terms of what you plant in your gardens, the bee hotels you put in, if you keep honeybees, it's all really, really good for our environment. As the lady said with the solitary bees, one of the biggest problem is habitat loss, where we're building all the these new housing estates, etc. We're paving over what was their habitat. So by providing them habitat, even in these areas, little insect hotels and the likes, and planting some bee-friendly plants, even if it is, you know, just in pots or small borders like these, you're helping all the bee species and all the insect species. And again, another one of their wildflower gardens, which, just looking around, there's honeybees here, there's common cader, there's, I wish I knew what all the insects were, but there's other ones as well. If you look around, you can see them, smaller ones, some that look like wasps, although I know they're not. I think one of them was a wood wasp I just saw. There's butterflies, loads of them, much smaller pollinators. They're just, the place is just washed with it. And this is quite late in the season, although their sunflowers have gone over now. And this is another one of the buildings. So this is where we came in. This is the shop. I haven't had a look around the shop yet. We'll have a look around that later. But it's also their nectary, their restaurant. So I think now is a good time to go and have a cup of tea. So before we go and have a cup of tea, then just want to show you this. So this is the Nectary restaurant, and this is outside one of their windows. And they've got all these hives outside the windows, look, which is quite cool. So you can sit there, you can have your cup of tea, and you can watch your bees. How cool is that? So we've just enjoyed a pleasant slice of cake. Don't tell she must be obeyed, and a nice cup of coffee. And this is the outside seating area for the restaurant. What I quite like is you've got all these seats which are facing out towards the bees and the pollinators, which is really quite cool. So I had a nice cup of tea and a slice of cake, and even though the place is full of people, you feel like it's you've got space to breathe, and it's space to enjoy without feeling overcrowded. So really cool. Right, let's get back on with the tour. Look at this plant. Right, all you beekeepers out there, tell me what this plant is, because I've got to get some of this in my garden. It is absolutely awash, and it must be one of those plants that's really attractive to all, because we have got honeys, we've got bumblebees, we've got those small flies that look like wasps, and it's just completely covered in them. Right, well, have you worked it out yet? So this plant is spearmint. Now, one of our members brought in some honey which had a mint flavour to it. I wonder if it was this, because the girls are properly pollinating this. Be interested. I'd love to taste spearmint honey.
And it acts just like the roof on my house or your house. It gives them insulation to keep the warmth in. And then this glue that we've popped on top here is waterproof. So it's with sections that separate it off. The reason there's cardboard on it at the moment is we're actually halfway through an extraction of Devon summer honey. And because... And in a couple of weeks, he might be unlucky to be kicked out. He doesn't have a stinger like our females, and so that's it. They go a little bit wider.
Yes, ma'am.
Balance it like that. Perfect. There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're back in one of the bee sheds, and Georgia, one of the members of staff here, has kindly taken the opportunity to give us a few minutes. So hello, Georgia.
Hello.
Now, the first thing is Georgia has just done a demonstration. So she's just come out. She says she's extremely hot and sweaty. So the first question I've got for you, Georgia, is tell us about that sweat bee again.
Yes, so the sweat bee, it's one of our solitary bees that lives here in the UK. She uses our sweat, so the vitamins and minerals in our sweat or the sweat of other mammals, to supplement her diet along with pollen and nectar from flowers.
So there we go. Who knew? Who knew there was a bee that liked our sweat? That's cool. So on to a more serious note, I've just been looking over there. You've got 3 hives, which you do your demonstrations on.
Yeah.
And you do 3 demonstrations a day.
2 demonstrations.
2 demonstrations a day.
Yeah.
How does that affect the bees keep opening and closing their hives again?
So we rotate through our hives. So we have the 3 hives. So today I've opened hive A. So that will be open today by myself. I started at 12:30, and then later on at about 3 o'clock it will be opened by Caroline, who's another one of the ladies who works here.
Okay.
We tend to try and keep them open for as minimal amount of time as possible. So our demonstrations are only 30 minutes long. So we try not to keep opening them up too much. We do find that by the end of the day, so when we get to like the end of that second demonstration, they do sort of start to get a little bit antsy with us. They don't particularly like being opened up so many times, but because we rotate through them, it sort of reduces the stress on them. It did used to be 3 times a day that they were opened up.
Okay.
We actually took away one of those demonstrations in order to let them have a bit of a rest, so that they're not being opened up so many times. It's not good for them to be exposed so much.
So actually, it's just like kind of 1 or 2 days, and then they're back out. Back out to
so
brilliant.
I'll have opened hive A today, then hive A won't get opened again until Wednesday. So they get 2 days break, and then the hives are actually removed and changed for new hives every Tuesday. So hive A actually probably won't get opened again this week, because it'll be swapped on Tuesday.
There we go. So they don't constantly go in and out of these hives all the time. They're only here for a week, and then they go off. They go back again. So how long have you worked at Quince?
I've worked here since May.
Since May. So this is your first season.
This is my first season, yeah.
And what do we think?
I love it.
Dream job?
Yeah, genuinely dream
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
Like, you wouldn't expect to come and work at a honey farm and love it so much. The amount of things we get to do, the amount of people we get to meet, and the amount of education we get to give to people. We get to introduce people to the wonderful world of bees.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. I get to spend my days hanging out with lovely people, lovely bees, and outside in the great outdoors. It's amazing.
Amazing. And there's so much going on here as well. And what I noticed is you're not just all about the honeybee, are you?
No.
Because
No.
you did that lovely talk earlier about all the solitary bees.
Yes, so we have a talk on solitary bees where we focus on our solitary bees. Depending on the weather, we sometimes do a bit of a bumblebee hunt
Cool.
as well. So we talk a little bit about our different bumblebees here in the UK. We have our bee biology where we talk primarily about the honeybee, but we do talk about other bees as well. And we also have our curious creatures who live in the bee shed too, so the other insects that live here at Quince Honey Farm. So we like to introduce people to them and talk to them a little bit about the biology of those insects too.
Brilliant. Well, it is a fantastic place, Georgia. Thank you so much for giving up your time. I know it's your lunch hour at the moment, so I better you had your lunch.
Go get a coffee.
Yeah, thanks very much, and
You're
thanks for talking to
welcome.
us. Thank you.
No problem.
Here we go then. So this is part of their meadow trail. Didn't expect it to be like this. Look at that. I like this. They've got these metal figures as beekeepers. How cool is that? Now, when we talk about flower beds, they've taken it here quite literally. Look at that. That is a proper flower bed. So, as well as the meadow walk, they've also got this fully stocked kitchen garden, which also happens to be right next to the Nectary restaurant. So they really have thought about everything here. Just looking at Mrs. Bumblebee on here. So this is all part of the meadow walk. They've got rivers, streams. It's a mile long, so it's not too far for the kiddies and people to walk, and it's all on this hard surface, so ideal for pushchairs and prams and the like. So yeah, beautiful. So this is one for she must be obeyed. They've even got a stumpery, which is something that she would really like us to have in our garden. So there we are then, we've finished our visit of the Quince Honey Farm, and if I'm honest, I didn't expect it to be anywhere near as good as it actually was. They're doing a lot of really good work in there, helping our bees and all our pollinators, so really is worth the visit. So I turned up today with a view of getting a little bit of video for my 1 year in beekeeping series, and actually thought it was that good, decided to make a standalone video. So on the back of that, I'd like to thank Caroline and Georgia. Both of those girls gave up their time willingly. They're both members of staff here. Nothing was planned, nothing was pre-planned. And they gave up their time. Georgia gave me an interview, and Caroline told me loads and loads about the centre. One thing I didn't know, the Thorns and the people that started Quince Honey Farm are brothers. So the brothers, one started Thorns, one started the honey farm here, and I never knew that. And funny enough, there's a Thorn shop just around the corner from here, so we're going to go and have a little visit of that. So that completes this video. Hope you got something from it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's definitely worth a video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.